Welcome to Ramble Writ, where all are welcome to ramble till it's writ. We're here to make writing feel approachable, joyful, and wonderfully imperfect. Learn, explore, craft, and grow your stories at the right pace, your own.
Today, we're venturing into another writer's tome. Think of it as spelunking through someone else's creative wisdom. And yes, I've brought tea.
We're starting off with a wander through the pages, gathering first impressions and highlighting key overview points before we take this book into the library and dive a little deeper.
All right, today we're diving into a book that is honestly a life changer. It's Anne Lamott's Bird by Bird. And look, this isn't just for writers. It's for anyone who's ever stared at a massive project and just felt that wave of panic, thinking, oh my God, where do I even start? So let's start right there with that feeling. You know the one I'm talking about, right? That absolute heart-pounding terror of the blank page or, a blank canvas, a huge spreadsheet, whatever it is for you. That feeling that the task ahead is just impossible. And the whole secret, the entire philosophy of this book comes from this one little story from her childhood. It's so simple but so powerful. Her dad wasn't just helping with homework. He was handing over a blueprint for how to handle, life. The idea is simple. Stop looking at the whole mountain. Just focus on the first bird, then the next one. That's it, bird by bird. Okay, so you're ready to start. You're gonna take it bird by bird, but then you meet the next big boss battle, right? That little voice in your head, the one that whispers, or let's be honest, shouts, that everything you do has to be perfect from the get-go. And this is the place where so many brilliant ideas just die before they even get a chance to breathe. I mean, we all have this dream, don't we? This fantasy that the first draft will just pour out of us, fully formed and brilliant, like a scene from a movie. But Lamott tells us that's not just a fantasy, it's a trap. A total trap. It completely freezes you. You get so worried about writing the wrong thing that you end up writing, nothing. And this is where we get to probably Lamott's most famous, most beloved piece of advice ever. She tells us to give ourselves permission, to embrace the shitty first draft. Yeah, that's what she calls it, and it's brilliant. This version isn't for anyone else's eyes. It's just for you. It's supposed to be a mess, a total train wreck. It's a psychological judo move, really. By letting yourself be awful, you unlock the freedom to eventually be great. She calls it the child's draft, and I love that framing. Think about how kids play. They just go for it. They're not worried about getting it right. They're just exploring and making a mess and having fun. That's what this stage is. It's not about being bad. It's about being free. The grown-up, the editor, can come in and clean things up later. Right now, your only job is to get the Play-Doh out on the table. All right, so you've done it. You've let yourself write that messy, chaotic first draft. Awesome. But now you've got a new problem, right? You've got this huge pile of stuff, a story that goes everywhere, a million different details. So now what? How in the world do you find your focus in all that? This is where Lamott gives us another amazing tool. She says to imagine you have a tiny 1-inch picture frame, like a physical one in your hand, and you hold it up to your giant sprawling story. Your job isn't to describe the whole world, nope. Your only job, for now, is to write about what you can see inside that little 1-inch square. That's it. That's all you have to worry about. So how does this work in practice? Well, she has a great starting point. Go back to your childhood. But, and this is key, don't try to write about all of your childhood. That's way too big. Use the 1-inch frame. Pick one thing, one memory, like a single birthday party, and then just dig in. What did the frosting taste like? What was the weird pattern on the paper plates? Can you remember the smell of chlorine from the pool? It's those tiny, specific, sensory details that make a story feel real. And this quote she includes from E.L. Doctorow just nails it. Writing a novel is like driving a car at night. Think about that. You can't see your final destination 100 miles away. That would be terrifying. All you can see is the little patch of road right in front of you, lit up by your headlights. But guess what? You can make the whole trip that way. Just focus on what's in the light. Trust that the road will keep appearing. Okay, so you've got your toolkit, right? You're taking it bird by bird, you've made friends with your shitty first draft, you've got your 1-inch picture frame, you're all set. And yet, the hardest part is still ahead, because the biggest fight is almost always the one that happens right between our own ears. And Lamott, in her classic, brutally honest way, gives this inner chaos a name. She calls it Radio KFKD. Or, well, you can figure out what that stands for. And this station is always on, broadcasting two channels at once. On one side, you have the voice telling you you're a brilliant, special genius and nobody understands you. And on the other channel, it's just a nonstop playlist of every dumb thing you've ever done. Both of them are total creativity killers. And here's the thing, you can't argue with the radio. You'll lose every time. The goal isn't to shut the station down for good. The goal is just to learn where the volume knob is. You have to learn to turn it down, to get things quiet enough in your own head so you can actually hear the characters, hear the ideas that are trying to speak to you. So, let's be real for a second. This sounds hard, right? It sounds like a lot of work. Battling your inner demons, embracing messiness, wrestling with all this self-doubt. So, why bother? What's the point? This is where Lamott's book gets really deep, because she argues that the real reward, the true prize, has absolutely nothing to do with fame or a book deal or any of that. And she shares this line from, of all places, the movie Cool Runnings, and it's just perfect. If you're not enough before the gold medal, you won't be enough with it. Wow, just let that sink in. If you're tying your whole sense of self-worth to some outside goal, getting the promotion, the publication, whatever, you're just setting yourself up. Because that external thing can't fix an internal problem. So, if the gold medal isn't the reward, what is? Well, the reward is the work. It's the simple act of paying attention to your own life, to the world around you. It's about telling the truth. It's about figuring out what you actually believe about things. It's about connecting with other people. And ultimately, it's about realizing that you're already enough, just as you are. The whole thing, she says, is an inside job. And so the book leaves us with this incredible, challenging question, because this process of writing, of creating, of paying attention, it's really a process of becoming more conscious. It forces you to really look at things, to look at yourself. So the final question she poses to us isn't, how successful do you want to be? It's something much bigger. The question is, how alive are you willing to be?
Ready to dive deeper? Step inside the library where things get interesting. Let's wander behind the bookshelves and peek at the quiet machinery running underneath this book. On the surface, it's a writing guide. In practice, it's emotional first aid for anyone who has stared at a blank page, panicked, and suddenly felt an urgent need to reorganize the cutlery drawer. You're among friends. We've all done it. What the book is solving, Lamott isn't polishing your prose. She's helping you stay sane long enough to write anything at all. Her main targets, overwhelm, fear, and that cheerful internal critic who broadcasts disaster at full volume. Overwhelm. The title story, her brother frozen before a giant school project, is Lamott's reminder to stop trying to write the whole book today. Small steps, short assignments, 1-inch picture frames, tiny tasks that bypass panic, perfectionism, voice of the oppressor, dramatic, yes, but accurate. Perfectionism convinces you that the first draft needs to arrive fully formed or not at all. Discipline, without theatrics. Show up, preferably daily, not because you're a literary monk, but because routine steadies the mind. Honesty in voice, Lamott's core belief. Your best writing comes from slowing down enough to notice what's true. Not tidy truth, human truth. Structure via drafting. Lamott gives writers a simple, forgiving system. Use your downdraft to get it down, the updraft to fix it up, and finally the dental draft to tidy the details. At heart, Bird by Bird is a companion for the lonely parts of writing, a reminder that you're not strange. You're a writer, and honesty is the bridge to connection. How the book uses its own advice. Lamott structures her chapters like miniature short assignments, small, digestible, easily absorbed between sips of tea. Her stories, messy, warm, and a bit chaotic, demonstrate the very tools she teaches: observation, honesty, and letting the first pass be imperfect. Her message is simple. The process is messy because writing is messy. That's not a mistake. That's the work. The habit loop. Cue blank page panic. Action. Show up. Write a tiny messy thing. Ignore the internal catastrophizer. Reward. The quiet satisfaction of having written. Or, in our house style, freak out. Ramble anyway. Feel better. Progress over perfection. Always. Welcome to the cross-reference room, where craft books politely, and not so politely, disagree. A notable contradiction, vengeance. Ethan Kanan says, never write out of vengeance. And Lamott says, look, if it helps, use it. Just disguise people. Lamott's point isn't pettiness. It's that buried emotion. Anger, grief, disappointment can be transformed into honest, universal writing when handled with care. Pain becomes fuel, not fire. Perfectionism, the big divergence. Many craft books champion refinement from the start. Lamott urges the opposite, refine later. Discovery comes first. The messy draft isn't indulgence. It's the only way to find the story underneath. Timeless versus time-stuck. Many of these ideas are as fresh today as they were at the time this was written. Some timeless advice are the tiny tasks, bird by bird, shitty first drafts, perfectionism as creativity's enemy, routines that build momentum, honesty as the core of voice, and observation as the writer's anchor. And a few are now rather delightfully dated, calling people for research, typewriters, mailing manuscripts, and waiting by the letterbox. All charming, not strictly necessary anymore. What Lamott assumes about you. She assumes you have a sliver of time to write, struggle with big tasks, wrestle with perfectionism, are a bit anxious or introverted, are a nonlinear thinker, need encouragement and not commandments. And she writes accordingly with compassion, humor, and realism. Lamott's brilliance is that she humanizes craft, less precision engineering, more emotional survival kit. Her advice contradicts the canon where it matters, but her core message remains evergreen. She's the writing teacher who says, you're a disaster, beautiful, now go write about it. Her advice holds up because it's not about perfection, it's about humanity. And yes, if you need to write out of vengeance, do it nicely, disguise the villain, and enjoy the catharsis. The practice parlor is where we stop philosophizing and put words down. We're turning Lamott's principles into a 1-week minimal suffering plan. The 7-day bird by bird mini challenge? Use this as your daily foundation. Every day, repeat this simple trio. 1, same time, same place. Train your brain like a slightly stubborn rescue animal. Routine before inspiration. 2, quiet the inner racket. A breath, a ritual, a cup of tea. Whatever helps you switch off the noise. And 3, 300 words of anything. Messy is fine, honest is better, finished is unnecessary. Your week, bird by bird. Day 1 scene, describe a room, let details lead the mood. Day 2, 1 memory, choose a childhood moment and spill everything onto the page. Day 3, 1 character, observe someone, write what they carry, literally and emotionally. Day 4, 1 conversation, recreate dialogue that sounds like people you've actually met. Day 5, 1 intuition moment, write the odd idea that pops up. Follow the weird thread. Day 6, 1 letter, a letter to someone, real or fictional, about something difficult. Day 7, 1 revision, pick anything from the week and sharpen it with a cooler eye. Your reward. It's not fame, not publication, just the warm, grounded feeling of, I wrote today. Momentum is built 1 tiny, imperfect step at a time. Welcome to the Atlas Alcove, our cozy space to talk about how a book feels, not how it ranks. The big yes, shitty first drafts. Writers love this section because it hands you permission to be gloriously imperfect. Lamott reframes the first draft as discovery, not performance. The relief is immediate. You can breathe again. The big nope. Publication won't fix anything. This is the part that stings. Lamott cheerfully dismantles the fantasy that publication will solve your life. Once the disappointment fades, the clarity is freeing. The real reward is the practice itself. The spicy sidebar, using pain as material. Lamott acknowledges that difficult emotions often lead to truthful writing, not revenge on paper, transformation on paper. Handled well, those experiences turn into stories that resonate. The emotional safety net. Where this truly shines is in the permission to be imperfect, validation for your internal chaos, and worth not tied to external success. She writes to reassure the anxious writer inside most of us. Keep in mind, even good advice has limits, so don't get deeply embedded with the wrong ideas. endless, messy drafts won't move a book forward. Routines shouldn't become punishment. Raw truth still needs craft, and not all critique is worth hearing. Used with awareness, though, the book becomes a deeply grounding companion. Welcome to Cognition Corner, the secret backroom where we explore why these methods work on a neurological level. Routine and small tasks support the part of your brain that handles planning and inhibition. Short assignments reduce cognitive load. Quieting the critic strengthens focus. Small wins build momentum. Mind wandering, memory introspection. This is where intuition lives. When you sit still long enough, the DMN starts offering ideas, emotional truth, and unexpected connections. Lamott's emphasis on noticing details engages your sensory and pattern systems. The more you observe, the richer your material becomes. Fear 1. My writing is terrible. The shitty first draft reduces threat and lets creativity breathe. Fear 2. The project is too big. Chunking calms overwhelm and keeps you moving. Fear 3. I'm faking it. Honesty aligns your emotional and cognitive systems. Your voice emerges. Fear 4. Writing alone is pointless. Connection, through groups or readers, activates reward pathways that make writing feel meaningful. You're not blocked. You're overloaded. Messy drafts liberate your creative circuits. Intuition grows in quiet. Writing is connection, even in solitude. Progress beats perfection because your brain prefers small, steady wins. Welcome to Summary Stacks, the place where we compress an entire book into something you can absorb between sips of tea. Break big tasks into tiny ones, small frames, small goals, 300 words a day. Let your first draft be terrible. Discovery comes before refinement. Tell the honest truth. Emotion and specificity create connection. Reframe the reward. Writing itself, not publication, is what nourishes you. Almost all good writing begins with terrible first efforts. You need to start somewhere. Start by getting something, anything, down on paper. A friend of mine says that the first draft is the down draft. You just get it down. The second draft is the up draft. You fix it up. You try to say what you have to say more accurately. And the third draft is the dental draft, where you check every tooth to see if it's loose or cramped or decayed or even, God help us, healthy. The highest return on investment habit you'll find here is to sit down at the same time every day and write something imperfect. Routine plus imperfection equals momentum, and momentum equals actual pages. And for the final Ramble Writ takeaway, bear in mind Lamott emphasizes that messy is expected, tiny tasks build big books, honesty is craft, and that the act of writing is the reward. And, as always, progress over perfection every time.
The journey continues. Like, subscribe, and join the ramble.